work at Esri is done by development teams who are really passionate about what they do. They really care about the problems that they're solving, and it's the result of that focus that users see in these amazing capabilities that emerge in the products.
We want to make solutions, and the best way to do it is creating digital twins of a city. Now, with the technology that we currently have, it makes it so much easier to make better decisions.
Now, planners can directly create grids for their land use or for the study area. It can be a TOD, it can be the entire city or entire county.
We are excited to present a new organization homepage. This is mobile-ready, responsive. It allows you to create experiences for both your visitors to your organization as well as your members.
We added SQL capabilities such as the creation of views in file geodatabases. This allows the user to construct different views of the same underlying data.
Attribute rules really help users streamline their editing experience by helping them automatically calculate values throughout tables and layers and preventing them from inadvertently adding invalid data.
So what we want to do is to help improve insights in information, provide better situational awareness. A mission analyst can quickly go back in time and identify certain information of importance to help make faster and quicker decisions.
You can create, manage, and configure webhooks to automatically send you notification when events associated with your portal items occur.
On the charting, we have improved the timelines. You can have multiple timelines on one chart. We can do clustering. We can do kernel density, density ratio.
For the first time, deep learning has made artificial intelligence at par or even better than humans at things like classifying images, detecting objects, or understanding speech and language.
A really cool thing about ArcGIS Earth is that you can edit KMLs, and you could edit and draw directly on a building footprint. Once you're done that, you can extrude that data and have it appear in 3D.
Now it's really easy to add labels to clusters. So say you only want to show the labels if it has more than 10 features within the cluster, you can do that. We'll give you that full control.
You don't need to writing code, you don't need to understand the software, you don't need to understand the program language. We're trying to hide the complexity of technology and provide the greater usability.
If you're a fan of the mobile app, we have made many exciting enhancements like the survey notifications. We can connect your survey and the data that you collect with hundreds of apps and services that you already use in your organizations.
With ArcGIS Story Maps, you can create a guided tour. So a guided tour is a great way to bring people along with you in your story to different places around the world.
Our focus in this release was really to make ArcGIS Pro work better for you by adding missing functionality like map graphics, by improving performance in many areas, including enterprise databases, and by making you work more productively.
What's unique about ArcGIS Enterprise for Kubernetes is that every piece of functionality is designed as a microservice, which means they can be orchestrated all in one in a Kubernetes fabric. And this fabric can run anywhere that you choose.
We're horizontal in nature with all these industries. And just the change that we affect on our daily lives in the world today is what Esri is all about.
Well, welcome back. I appreciate a short break here, as I'm sure you did. Listen, I hope that video helped you get a sense of our people, their character, their depth, what they're up to, their motivation. They really care about you, and I just have to say, working around them is such a great privilege for me. We're going to now cover a bit about our work in greater depth, and what I hope to highlight across the next few minutes is a little bit of a sampling of what you can go to in the various sessions during the week. I mean, it is overwhelming to cover it all, but I'll do my best. Our main focus, our purpose as we see our organization is to help you, build tools that help you do your work better. ArcGIS has been our main focus in this regard, and the vision for ArcGIS is to build a comprehensive geospatial platform that supports multiple communities. the GIS community, of course, which includes all of you, but also a downsized version of GIS in the form of mapping and location services, and also location analytics. In the last few years, we've been building something we call Geo-Enabled Systems, which take components of GIS technology, but builds standalone independent systems with workflows that focus very much on organizations like in urban planning or in indoor management or in public safety and the like. Our general strategy is to build both software and also software as services from the cloud. We sometimes refer to these the combination of all of these works as the geospatial cloud that Esri builds. ArcGIS supports three fundamental systems. First, a system of record keeping. This is transactional data management. And second, a system of insights. These are analytics that allow us to explore or analyze in various forms the richness of geographic information. And third, a system of engagement. These are apps and maps that connect with people and tell stories and gather information. In all three of these systems, over the last few years, we've been making them increasingly able to integrate real-time data from IoT, from space, from imagery of various types, and from the field. Now, ArcGIS can be supported, actually supports multiple implementation patterns. Certainly projects are one of the largest ones. People do projects on a desktop or in a browser, and they do their work. The second one is building systems, like complex information systems, transaction-oriented, that can be shared and used by many. And the third pattern is the cloud services pattern, like ArcGIS Online. Now, all three of these patterns actually come together in a fourth pattern, the geospatial infrastructure pattern, which brings them together. And ArcGIS has been engineered to support all four of these patterns together. They aren't just pieces thrown together, but it's a well thought out, dynamic system that brings it all together as one system of systems. ArcGIS itself is evolving. It's integrating many new innovations in the data area, new innovations in computing and also in science. We're integrating new data sources from drones or from satellites or other reality capture technologies. We're integrating new tools for computing, not only faster machines, of course, but AI and machine learning capabilities, the ability to support cloud-native environments with Kubernetes, being able to divide up our software into microservices and distribute it and bring it together dynamically. And also in the science area, the integration of spatial temporal algorithms, both of our own making, but also the integration of open science tools that can enrich and make the platform better and stronger. ArcGIS, by design, is an open platform. That means it can be flexible, being able to be extended in various ways, customizable. It's interoperable, using various standards and direct engineering technologies to make things work together. It's also customizable in the sense that people can extend it with rich tools like Python or integrate in open source tools like TensorFlow to build complex systems. And the success of this strategy is pretty strong. It's evidenced by the thousands, actually tens of thousands of heterogeneous systems that have been implemented using and powered by our platform. ArcGIS has many new advances this year, and they cover all these different categories. And I'll go through them systematically, but again, just hitting the highlights of them and the workshops and the sessions that happen during the rest of the week will give you some sense of this. I'll start off with simply data. ArcGIS includes an enormous amount of data from ArcGIS Online, base maps and imagery, a whole living atlas of thousands and thousands and thousands of layers that you can have direct access and integrate into your own work. Also, users share millions and millions of layers and data sets openly so that other users can use them. Here we're making improvements in the data area by expanded POIs, points of interest. We're adding some new thematic data like land cover forests from Clark University, rich biodiversity data, air quality data, more temporal information, and the integration of the OpenStreetMap environment directly into the system so that as people volunteer information updates with OpenStreetMap, you have the access to them directly. One might say that it has global geographic data about just about everything, but your creativity is what's necessary to bring them together. The success of this shared environment is evidenced by the billions and billions of maps that are made on this every week. Smart mapping is a capability that is embedded into our web environment. It allows people to make very interesting maps with very little difficulty. It's about dynamic and data-driven cartographic views. I know many of you are interested in the mapping work that we're doing in Pro. Here we've added new tools for symbology and annotation and processing. One of the big ones that I know you'll be excited about is we've added map graphics as another layer on top of displays. We've introduced color management, something that's been long waited for those interested in the offset printing world, and lots of other things. In the world of automated map and chart production, we've also made new enhancements to the workflows and performance. And by the way, this technology, these extensions, will ship with the normal Pro release in a few weeks. Story maps, I would say, are transforming the way that people understand and work with maps. They're really about telling stories about everything and by everyone. In the last year, we added some new features. One of them is something called collections. This is where you can take a whole bunch of story maps and put it together into a publication like a story map. That's the way I like to describe it. We've optimized for mobile. We've added some new tools for one-click design theme so you can very quickly make a story map. And perhaps the biggest one of all, earlier this year, we introduced a new storyteller role so that people across your organization in a very affordable manner can have access to the storytelling privileges that heretofore were mostly focused on GIS professionals. Embedded maps, as I referenced earlier, are really changing workflows. By being able to implement GIS-based mapping into the Microsoft platforms, things like SharePoint and Power BI and Office and soon Teams, it really means that we can empower the workflows of knowledge workers across the enterprise. And similarly with graphic professionals with Adobe. And similarly, and for me very excitingly, if that's the wrong word, but I'm very excited about it, that we can take the powerful workstations of Autodesk and services environments and empower them with geographic information. So they see context, they see the understanding of geography as they're doing engineering, design, and development and construction. Dashboards, as we've already seen in numerous presentations or in my presentation to date, are just changing things. They're making dynamic visual reporting a reality, not just for the big dashboards in these emergency centers, but onto mobile devices, into any device, anywhere, anytime. And here we've been making new improvements in mapping and especially in performance. More to come. Location analytics refers in the ESRI parlance to ArcGIS Insights. And this interesting tool is about intuitive and interactive spatial analytics, especially emphasizing visual. So it takes data from pretty much any data source and allows you to do exploration, visual data analytics with maps and charts that are all linked, and then do some advanced analytics as well. The results of these exercises are permanently stored, but also publishable as interactive reports across the organization or beyond. It's a sort of a very focused, easy to learn, easy to use pattern that I encourage all of you to share with your colleagues and also use yourself. The heart and center of most GIS professionals is spatial analytics and data science. This is all about solving problems and advancing science. And here we have over 2,000 tools that support data engineering, visualization and exploration, and new tools, particularly this year, that support spatial analysis itself. I'll highlight a couple: a new interactive suitability modeler, or as you'll see on the far left, a predictive modeling capability that was used extensively in the COVID response, but others, spider diagrams and the like. We continued our work in machine learning and AI. I'll talk more about that in a moment. And also working with big data sets, millions, hundreds of millions, billions of actual measurements, and creating understanding from it. I'm going to move now on to something a bit more technical. It's actually Jupyter Notebooks. And as some of you know, we've been working on integrating Jupyter Notebook materials into the ArcGIS platform for the last several years. Last year, we introduced a specialized server for Enterprise, that is our server technology that extends it. This summer, we're implementing Jupyter Notebooks inside of ArcGIS Pro. What this means is you don't have to do anything. It's just there. You can use it. It'll help you in scripting and processing and automating some of your workflows. We're also this summer releasing an extension to ArcGIS Online, which implements Jupyter Notebooks. This capability is really powerful because it includes a lot of Python libraries that Esri has built, but it also opens up the world of hundreds of open source libraries that you can use directly. AI and machine learning and deep learning, I know, are subjects that are interesting to many of you. We've been busy, actually, continuing to implement in our core technology many of these capabilities, but also through the introduction of Jupyter Notebooks, you can reach out and work with open source libraries and open science ecosystem, the whole open science ecosystem, to have access to those libraries as well. This is all about not only automating processing, but it's also making your systems smarter. So I think you should look at this carefully. It offers many opportunities for innovation. In the world of imagery and remote sensing, I'll simply say that ArcGIS is a complete platform that supports these capabilities with hundreds of actual tools and innovations and workflows. They fall into four big categories. It starts at the bottom here of this slide with image management. We have ready-to-use workflows, the ability to store and manage all types of formats, ready-to-use content actually through ArcGIS Online. It also supports the rich world of map making and map extraction, or feature extraction rather, from imagery information coming in from drones or from satellites. There are also tools for doing high-end analytics, classification, segmentation, all the things that image processing people like to do. But a point that I really want to make is that these capabilities are not a separate system. They're all integrated into your actual GIS, including a fourth category of exploration and exploitation and visualization, or I should say it the other way around. ArcGIS Pro, Excalibur, a new capability that we are introducing this year, support tools for oriented imagery, web-based access, and so on. And it goes on. And I like to mention right now that we're moving a lot of this capability over to ArcGIS Online. You'll be able to store your imagery in ArcGIS Online and then do these kinds of exploitation efforts directly from a browser. Now, I'll pick on drone mapping to go a little deeper. This is all about flight planning of drones and collection of the data and then processing the data, getting it ready to create data that you can use in your GIS. And we have two solutions for this. One is on the desktop, drone to map, and it does extraction as it's outlined here in the slide. But last year, we were very fortunate to have a new team join us. They have a technology called Site Scan. And this does the same thing that you can do on your desktop, but it does it in the cloud. And in addition, it has flight planning and fleet management of drones built into it. So you can actually have a complete solution for taking your drone, flying, planning where to go, processing the data, and having it ready to use in your GIS almost immediately. Another part of imagery that I really want to focus on is something we call Excalibur. This is a new capability for many of you. Perhaps you've heard about it. Most of you have probably not. And this is a web-based system for being able to do exploitation of the image. That really means pulling features off of the image, creating features, putting them into your GIS. So the capabilities of this system are you can search and find the images that you want. You can organize them into a project. Then you can do exploitation. This really means the visual and also the analytic way to pull the features off. And then you can share it, put it right into your database, or send it in the form of a map or report to someone else. ArcGIS is a 3D system, and there's many definitions of what a 3D system is about. Is it just visualization or just analytics or just data? It's all of it, actually. And it starts with a 3D data model, a rich data model for supporting point clouds and LiDAR, BIM models, a new capability called voxels, which I'm really fond about, and so on. In this capability, we also support smart mapping. Remember what Madeline showed a couple minutes ago from about the 2D capability of smart mapping? Exactly that same capability exists for 3D. In the last year, we've been enhancing our ability to do visualization with adding new symbology, special visual effects like mirroring and water and so on. This is beautiful work. But perhaps for some of you who are really interested in advanced visualization, you'll be excited not just by the AR, VR stuff, but by new plugins that we're building right now for game engines. Notice this one on the far right where you can fly through the Australian fires last summer using a gaming engine, very fast and realistic visualization of various forms. This will be available later this year, and you can then have a new way to view 3D information through a gaming engine. As I mentioned, it's not just visualization, it's also analytics, interactive measurement, interactive view sheds. These are all areas that we've been pioneering and pushing. But I want to talk about volumetrics because this again is one of these new favorite things that Jack has. It's voxels. And think of a fishbowl. That's the only way that I can explain it, really. If you could just sort of see into a fishbowl of phenomena that you've interpolated and worked out, that's basically what voxels allow you to do. Cross sections, interpolated values in the fishbowl, and so on. Now, I'll make a point here. ArcGIS is a 3D system. And what that means is the ability to look in 3D or do analytics can be had across the platform in mobile devices, in Earth, in Engine, in Pro, and in our scene viewer, or even in story maps, and something I'll talk about in a minute, the experience builder. Well, another dimension of GIS that's rapidly changing is real-time visualization and analytics. This is all about integrating sensor networks and IoT right into the system. That means real-time GIS layers. This could be like moving vehicles or moving airplanes or the IoT measurements of various types. Historically, we've supported this with extensions to ArcGIS Enterprise, the GeoEvent server and GeoAnalytics server. But this year, we've introduced a new capability. This is completely cloud-based. So you can just wire up sensors to the cloud, and it does the same kind of spatial temporal analytics, including storing the data there. This will allow us to not only easily implement real-time data, but also massively scalable information, dealing with millions or even tens of millions or hundreds of millions of actual observations. Data management is another one of those central parts of GIS. And here we've been advancing the tools and the workflows and the data models, supporting, of course, the leading systems and platforms, but introducing new industry geodata models using a services environment. We've also been improving the editing tools, integrating things like least squares adjustments into the Pro release and COGO and workflow management enhancements, 2D and 3D editing improvements. And then there's the geodatabase improvements. Well, there'll be workshops on all of these, by the way, and I encourage you to attend them. modernizing the data editing and management is what has been required in a web services environment. This is about rethinking how we store and organize our data and have tools and apps to support their editing. The reality is these will modernize and transform some of your workflows in utilities, in parcel data management, and also in the roads and pipeline work that I know many of you do. Field operations are supported by ArcGIS. By field operations, I really mean we are location enabling many aspects of field work, starting with planning and managing work, organizing it, planning it, then helping people get there by advanced space-time navigation, and then having maps in the field to explore what's going on in real time in a connected and disconnected environment. Also location tracking. And finally, the heart of a lot of our users' field work is data capture and inspections and surveys. And the workhorses here have been Collector and Survey 123. Last year we introduced something called Quick Capture, which is a sort of simplified version of Survey 123. And then this year we introduced the ability to capture lines and polygons and associate our surveys to them. Now, many of you have been asking, could you, Jack, bring these different apps together and have them as one app? So, by the way, this summer we're releasing, or we're actually in beta on it already, we're releasing a new app. It's called the Field Maps app. And this is an integrated app that brings tracking and mapping and navigation and feature capture all into one environment. And all of you that are working with field work will receive this app. I've now talked a lot about capabilities, and again, I want to invite you to the workshops to see them firsthand by the people who've been working on it and developing them. I'd like now to advance on to how these capabilities show up in various products. The diagram on the left shows ArcGIS in its various parts, but again, I'll emphasize that the various parts are part of a whole system. Sometimes we refer to that as the ArcGIS Geospatial Cloud. I'll start with Pro. Pro is a professional GIS in the desktop, and it's all about mapping, visualization, editing, analytics. It's being used by millions of people around the world, and here we've made a lot of improvements. For example, simple things like file browsing performance. I think some people are going to like that a lot. And the ability to do color management and better metadata and so on. This summer, the release will include, again, things that have been asked for years, autosave and map graphics, this layer of being able to sketch on top of a map, and voxel layers. Everyone will get voxel layers, the thing that Yvonne was showing a moment ago, and color management and others. Big data connections are built right into the platform, and for advanced users, things like link analysis or predictive modeling are going to be very attractive. And then there's more coming. Pro is extendable. It has a number of extensions in the area of analytics and data management and map production and charting. You can glance through these to find your favorite, but one of the most popular ones this year has been image analysis. It's just growing very rapidly because people want to get the advantage of analytics, imagery analytics, right into their GIS. In the area of server technology, ArcGIS, of course, has the ArcGIS Enterprise. This is the second leg of the stool, and it's a comprehensive system that users implement in their own infrastructure or in clouds. Here again, many improvements have been made. Bulk publishing, webhooks, sites authoring, better administration, and so on. But what's coming about the end of this year, beginning of next year, is a new version of ArcGIS Enterprise. This is a version that runs on Kubernetes. You might say, what are Kubernetes? Some people in the audience here will know what they are, but it's like an operating system. So ArcGIS will run on Kubernetes. But running on Kubernetes means that it can run in cloud-native environments. It leverages many of the advantages of cloud computing, including distributing and scaling out. Along with this release will come new tools for streamlining installation and updating. It'll mean dynamic scalability. It means easier maintenance of your platforms. It also means more IT-friendly integration with the other IT systems. So your IT people will love that, actually. Here, I'm looking to working with you closely because I'm expecting that this will mean more expansion of the geospatial infrastructure, distributed computing, but integrating these computation works, bringing microservices together is going to be yet another step in the evolution of this broad vision of geospatial infrastructure. The third leg of the stool is ArcGIS Online. This is our cloud system for mapping and analytics and location intelligence. And this has been growing very rapidly. As we've talked about already, even in the last quarter, it's grown 400%. There are over 9 million users that are using it on a daily basis. This year, we're extending it with the ArcGIS for IoT, or Analytics for IoT. And that will be a companion to the basic ArcGIS Online itself. We also have a new extension for notebooks. I've talked about that earlier. And what's coming will be extensions for image hosting and image analytics, as I've mentioned before. Hub, the product called Hub, is a system for collaboration and engagement. And this is an extension of ArcGIS Online. That's a way to think of it, at least how I think about it, that empowers citizens with GIS capabilities, not just the ability to organize communities or to organize initiatives for communities. It's actually a way to put in the hands of users, citizens rather, the richness of GIS itself. Of course, it supports open data, which is available really to all of you. And this hub environment has been a real workhorse in this COVID situation. It's dramatically improved both the communication and also citizen involvement of and participation in communities. ArcGIS Solutions are a fourth part of ArcGIS. They are kind of like an overlay on top of the basic desktop and online and server enterprise tools. They actually enrich the product with pre-configured data models and applications and add-ins and workflows in these different industry areas. And there's hundreds of them. And perhaps for many of you, the best thing about them is that they are free. But that doesn't mean kind of just sort of like a loose technology that I have to spend a lot of time figuring out. No, now, this summer, you can download them and make them come alive almost instantly. And they will help you develop and deliver applications in these areas very rapidly. Many of our users like to build apps, and we have 3 experiences for building apps. One is the Web App Builder, and this has been our most popular one. We've deployed over 1 million apps in the last few years. For several years, we've been building the next generation Web App Builder. It's called the Experience Builder that integrates in some of the more modern technologies. It's optimized for mobile, for example. It integrates 2D and 3D into the environment, and it features new mapping capabilities. But my favorite here is something called GeoCards. This is relatively recent in its evolution, but it allows these building blocks to be made, which organize geographic knowledge, services, data, and so forth that are implementable in things like dashboards or in websites. In other words, they're shareable. And the Experience Builder allows you to create and manage and make these available. The third app builder suite is the App Studio. And this has, in the past, only been available to developers, but at this release, we're making it available to all of our users. This supports cross-platform native app creation. It leverages ArcGIS runtimes, and then you build your own app around it and deploy it. It's very easy to implement inside of enterprises. It really is a rich environment. I want you to go to this workshop and take a look at it because it's powerful, particularly now that it's available for everyone. Some of our users are developers. So there is technology in our portfolio for developers specifically. And these allow them to extend the base functionality of our product in 5 ways. They involve APIs and SDKs for extending the platform, but also creating whole new experiences and apps. It starts with the Python API and Jupyter Notebooks, which I've talked about already. Then there's the Pro SDK, which is all about extending Pro with little add-ins. The Runtime SDK, which I mentioned just a moment ago, is about building mobile native apps. And now that is the technology that we're going to be using for plugging into game engines, the rich experiences of the platform. Okay, then there's the JavaScript API. I want to say a few words about that. That has been absolutely the most popular of the APIs in our portfolio. I mean, I can't count, we have no way of counting how many apps have been built out of this, but it's enormous. It's rich. It supports analytics, dynamic analytics, and visualization in a browser environment. This fall, we're introducing a 5th simplified API for third-party development. This is what you might call a simplified API for all sorts of developers. It's going to support open source, open layers, leaflet, and more with a rich access to ArcGIS as a platform. Now, powering this API will also be released a new series of location services. These location services are sort of like ArcGIS Online. In fact, these location services are definitely in ArcGIS Online today, but these will be a package for developers and will consist of mapping, geocoding, routing, data layers, and geo-enrichment capability. They'll support location enablement at scale. Here we're not talking about a few users, we're talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions of users. It's all about integrating services that support both a JavaScript API as well as this new simplified environment. It'll come out later this year, and it's not for everyone. It'll be especially focused on large enterprises and on developers. I'd like to now move on to describing our work in Geo-Enabled Systems. I earlier mentioned that these are focused workflows with taking components of GIS and also working closely with GIS to support these workflows, indoors, planning, business analysis, and this new mission awareness collaboration work. We'll start with Business Analyst. This is actually a standalone technology that we've had for several dozen years. It includes rich data, and it's all about supporting decision-making in private sector organizations largely. But it has increasingly become used in economic development and in some emergency management organizations like FEMA. It includes a rich library of content about business data and demographic data. It has new tools and existing tools for analytics and workflows, like target marketing or territory analysis or economic impact assessment. And then it has a rich library of tools like infographics and reports that are very useful. The second Geo-Enabled system is called Urban. And this is a system designed for planners and urban developers. This is something that lives both inside and outside of government. It's being used for planning and designing, like zoning and creating land use plans. It's also used for project reviews. A developer might say, how does my proposal fit into the overall fabric of a community? And then it does impact assessments, impact on what that development might mean. So this is supporting geodesign, it's supporting urban geodesign, and it allows you to generate alternative iterations of designs and then quickly evaluate them. The third Geo-Enabled system is indoors. And Geo-Enabled system here is really powerful because it takes the concepts of GIS and brings them right indoors. It supports both the management of all the building information that an organization may have, like CAD drawings, BIM models, and the like. And then it supports facility operations, things like safety and security or asset management. And then it helps in space management, space planning, workspace scheduling, and particularly these days in things like social distancing. So how do we bring people back to work inside of offices in a safe way? And then there are a series of occupant experiences like routing, like they're doing at Harvard, for example, or wayfinding. There's visitor kiosks. There's location tracking of people indoors, which is a whole interesting aspect of engineering all by itself. The last Geo-Enabled Systems is a brand new one, and perhaps for most of you, it'll be new here for the first time introduced to you. It's about tactical situation awareness and collaboration. It's about linking the people who run a mission, like a fire or a rescue or a disaster response, with the people that are actually in the field, using GeoChat, peer-to-peer communication. And it supports planning of a mission, then execution of the mission with communication going back and forth, and then after the fact, you can replay it and analyze it. Here again, there'll be workshops on this, and I hope that you that are in this field take a look at it. Well, I've covered a lot. I've covered a lot of technology, and I'm sorry to go so fast, but there is so much to cover. And I hope it'll give you some kind of a guide to things that might interest you during the week. What's next for us will be largely exactly what has been going on for 40 years. We get feedback from you, we work closely with you, and we continue to improve our various portfolios of technologies. We'll continue to do incremental releasing, and on the right are showing a kind of a word diagram of some of the big development activities that are underway right now. And I invite you to meet with those very people we showed on the video, live or dynamically, in the next couple of days, virtually, of course, and give them your feedback and priorities of what you want to have. Next year, we're going to be slightly changing the naming of our system from individual Pro this and Enterprise this and releases into a single integrated environment called ArcGIS 2021. And there'll still be segments and stages and releases and so on in it. But look to a little bit of name changes, not changes in the basic technology. This will, I hope, simplify your understanding of what we're doing. And by the way, we're not just going to continue doing innovation. We'll also stay very focused on quality and performance enhancements across the platform. Now, Esri supports more than just software development. It also has a rich environment for your development, your professional development, in the form of publications, books, articles, blogs, the GeoNet community, which I invite all of you to get connected with. It has lots of web resources. We have home use licenses. And right now, in the last few months, we've made available free furloughed worker software for deployment at to people at home. Our books are really rich this year. While we have 120 of them in total, we've released a new version of Women in GIS, which acknowledge the great contributions that women are making in our field. We're introducing a second volume of GIS for Science. Dawn Wright and her team has really played a major part in that. And there's a little flip book to show off here that's the thing that's flipping. For people interested in contextual settings, the Governor O'Malley's book of Smarter Government and his new workbook that accompanies it are amazing for both educators and also professionals. And then we have a whole bunch of books for helping you specifically learn new aspects of the tools. In addition to these publications, Esri supports a comprehensive skill training effort. This is a progressive learning program starting with MOOCs and then Learn ArcGIS lessons and then web classes and then instructor-led courses. These are a rich environment for you to advance yourself, to continue learning, to enhance what you know and improve your competency. And it's designed not only for you to stay current, but it's also designed to introduce new users to our world. Last year, we trained over 250,000 people with these courses, and a lot of them became certified.